Welcome back. Students change schools all the time. Can athletes do the same thing? Cecily Stout verifies if student athletes can switch schools and then play at their new school in the same season.
Judd Anderson attended Jones County High School until last week when he made the switch to Warner Robins. People are curious if student athletes can transfer during season and still play in games. We received questions about the transfer rules for student athletes after Warner Robins defeated Northside Friday night. So we set out to answer the question, can student athletes transfer schools and play in games mid-season? Our sources are Robin Hines, Executive Director at the Georgia High School Association, the GHSA bylaws, and Doug Reiser, Houston County's Director of School Operations. Students change school zones often, but there's another layer added on for athletes who want to play at their new school. Hines defines what his organization calls a Bonafide Move.
A Bonafide Move is where all members of the family unit and/or persons who lived in one attendance zone household moves from one attendance zone to another with a simultaneous change of enrollment.
The GHSA bylaws explain everything that's required. The student must choose a private or public school, and it must be apparent that everyone in the household has left the previous address and now lives at the new residence. But if GHSA finds a violation, the student will be labeled as a migrant student. That makes them ineligible for 1 calendar year. Reiser explains the eligibility process for student athletes transferring into Houston County.
So at every school, when a student transfers in and they're an athlete, and let's say they're out of county, they would have to do what's called a Form B. The Form B would go to the GHSA, they would review that Form B, and then they would determine if that student athlete was eligible or not.
After families make a transfer enrollment appointment to change schools, the process time varies.
All of the rules pertaining to student enrollment are the same, whether they're an athlete or just a normal student. They have to go to central registration, they have to have the proper forms that we provide on our website, and if they show up with those forms, they could have a live enrollment by the end of the day.
And that means Reiser says they should be ready to play, but there's one exception.
If a football player moved after the 10th ball game and wanted to play in the playoffs for his new school, they are not eligible to do that.
We can verify that student athletes can transfer schools and be eligible to play that same season. With your Verify, I'm Cecily Stout.
And you can always get more stories verified on your own time by watching 13 WMAZ on Roku and Amazon Fire and downloading our app on those platforms.